Hello, hello. Hi, loves. Big hello to you if you are watching on the replay. I'm just going to wait to see if I've got anyone live with me and just to make sure that you can hear me okay. I'm downstairs in our house because it is warm and it is hot upstairs. It is so hot. I'm fast learning that this is the first summer we've spent in this house. And it is an actual sauna in my office. And I've already had the air conditioner on 4 times and it's barely summer. So yeah, I am probably going to need to do something about that. Hey, Beth. Hey, Terry. Hello, hello. Hey, Jax. So great to have you here. So those of you that are coming on, say hi. Let me know that you're here. We are chatting all things intention over indecision today, which I'm really looking forward to talking more about. It's a topic that's been coming up a lot with clients, and I really love to jump in and share things that I find are coming up as themes. Hey, Fran. Hey, Jax. Hey, Leanne. Yeah, it is warm around Australia at the moment. Super warm. All right, so I'm going to dive in. And those of you that are coming on a little bit later, you can watch this back or, yeah, whatever feels good for you. We're going to keep this reasonably short and sweet because I know that it is a super busy time of year right now, but I wanted to share something that was really hot on my heart right now. So I just wanted to share a little bit more about this topic of intention over indecision. I'm just moving my computer screen around so that I can see my notes really clearly over here. So what I find is that December is this kind of like in-between month, right? And as future gazers, as those of us who tend to kind of look forward, which is so many of us, and really resist living in the present moment, it's really easy at this point to start projecting into 2020 and to start asking ourselves all of the questions about what 2020 is going to look like and making ourselves all sorts of promises about what the new year is going to be. And with that, it really brings so many feelings up related to indecision and comparison and really mixed emotions about, did we feel like we completed everything that we wanted to complete in 2019? Do we feel like it's been a successful year? All the promises we make to ourselves about how 2020 is going to be really different and what that's going to look like instead. Give me an emoji if you're feeling me on this, because I know that it's super common. And so because it is also the end of the year, and it's really understandable if perhaps you're feeling a little bit tired because you've had a few big months, maybe at the moment you're not getting as much sleep because you're really in celebration mode, that you are potentially feeling like you're a little bit weary in your thinking. And perhaps you're not finding that you're able to be as cohesive or as coherent when it comes to making the sorts of decisions and doing the sort of planning that you would normally do. It might be a little bit harder right now to really be in that energy, especially if you're feeling self-deprecating about the kind of year that you've had. So what I've really found as I've been talking to clients about this is that it's the antidote to that indecision is 100% intention. And this is not just an end of the year practice. I'm obviously relating it to that because that's where we're at in this moment, but this is really something that we can reference around, we can relate to any type of year, any type of season that we might be in. So for example, if you asked me how I built my business, I would tell you that it's because of the power of intention. It's definitely not from luck, which really irritates me if anyone ever says that. I'm sure you all feel the same. It's definitely not because of hard work. It's definitely not because of, just a few good decisions. It's the power of intention. And so I've been coming back to this word so much lately, and that's why I just really wanted to talk a little bit more about what intention looks like. So when I think about the last couple of years in my business journey and what that has been, everything has come back to that power of intention. And really creating that clarity of how I want to move forward. So I intended to leave my corporate job when the time was right. I intended to build a business that was going to reach six figures because that was something that I wanted, and I'm not ashamed to say that. I intended to then transition less out of one-to-one and more into group coaching through my mastermind experience. And I've got an intention for what I want 2020 to look like and how my business and my life is going to continue to pivot and shift as I do. So that intentionality is really the antidote to indecision, because when we're feeling indecisive, indecision is lacking clarity. It's not having that beautiful, clear strategy of what we want next in our head. It's not knowing our why. It's all of those things. That is indecision. But intention is, it might be that you still don't necessarily know what some of those moving parts look like, but if intentionality is there, it's much easier to find it. So when we are feeling indecisive, so often we can just start putting that pressure on ourselves around, it has to be this, or I have to find out this, or I have to learn this. But instead, the most important thing is coming back to the power of intention. So I'm going to talk a little bit, I really wanted to frame that first of all. Just got really bright in here. I just wanted to frame that first of all and share why that concept is so powerful, because often with anything related to mindset, it's both a case of really deeply understanding the concept and having that self-awareness around it, but then also having those tangible, practical things that you can do to implement the concept, essentially. So now that we know a little bit more about I guess the why, the concept behind intentionality, I really want to talk a little bit more about how we can utilize this. And so something that I do just want to say before I do so is that I just want to acknowledge, because I think it's really important, that being intentional is a privilege. Like, we absolutely have this privilege of intentionality. So I know that every example that I gave before about what's happened in my business and how that's transitioned and, in my life and all of those things, it's 100% from that place of being highly privileged. And I dare say, by being here with me right now and being in this community and having that option to consider building your own business, you are also in that place. And so I don't say that to bring forth any kind of guilt, but in fact the actual opposite, to go, well, how can I utilize this privilege? Because it's an absolute gift that we have it, and it's such an amazing opportunity to be able to leverage this privilege and know that if I have the choice of being intentional, then how fortunate am I to do so? And if only I knew what I could create because I have that privilege, right? So, just a reminder that even being here right now and having this opportunity to build an incredible business is such a privilege. And when we know that, we have the power to tap into that a little bit more and utilize that in a really incredible way. Okay, so now I want to share a little bit about how I recommend becoming incredibly intentional, both in this exact moment and also in the lead up to 2020. I'm kind of loosely tying this to the theme of 2020 because I know it's something that's really on our minds at the moment, but I also have been resisting it a lot. My mastermind ladies will know that I've been saying so much throughout the month of December, like, let's just not project into January yet. Like, let's stay in December. There's 5 weeks in December, and it's so interesting because it's almost like we get to the end of November and everyone's like 2020, 2020. It's like a lot can happen in 5 weeks. And even for us in business, even though a lot of people aren't necessarily purchasing courses as much right now or purchasing from us, I'm sure for those of you that are also in the service-based business, you will know this is the time of year when people are least likely to spend money because they are purchasing products for friends and loved ones. It's obviously giving season and celebrating season, and people don't necessarily feel super flush this time of year. But that said, it's a really great time to be able to do those other things in your business or prepare for that next launch or create that wait list for your next program or whatever it might be. So please don't allow yourself to project fully into 2020 yet. There's just so many weeks left in this month. For myself, I have been I'm launching a course with Rachel McDonald, a friend of mine, an incredible course in January. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that at the end. And we've been very much in planning and content creation mode. So I actually feel like we're really utilizing this month in a really amazing way, and being incredibly intentional about what this month looks like. Definitely doesn't mean that I'm not allowing myself to take a little bit more of like the foot off the gas and all of those things, but I'm not allowing myself to completely disconnect. I think I shared on stories the other day as well about tuning in rather than tuning out, and knowing what your business needs at this time of year rather than creating any disconnection around it. Okay, anyway, I'm going on a little bit of a tangent right now. So how can you be incredibly intentional both in this exact moment as well as in the lead up to 2020? So the first thing that I would really recommend doing is to create a ritual every day that brings you into the space of intentionality. So once again, pretending that I'm talking about this at any time throughout the year, what is some sort of ritual that you can do that will allow you to breathe into and be in that space of deep intentionality? So for me, it is very much about having space and alone time, and especially being able to do that in the morning. So for 4 or 5 months of the year when it's warm here, it might be an ocean swim, it might be yoga, it might be going for a walk. Whatever that looks like for you, that's what it looks like for me, to be able to create that incredible space where I'm able to become intentional. So my days don't happen out of indecision or by accident. Everything is very purposeful, very clarity-led, and very intentional. So hopefully you can see how I'm utilizing this word intentional over and over in a multitude of ways, so you can see the ways in which it is so incorporated into everything that I do in my life, and hopefully, something that you can utilize for yourself as well. The second thing to create that intentionality is to allow yourself to go really big on what you want and be really crystal clear on that. And then allow yourself to really feel what life looks like from there. So something that I really love to do is to create, I call it like it's like a diary entry essentially, where I cast myself into what my vision looks like. So usually it's around 5 years ahead for me. That kind of just feels good for me. For some people it's like 10 years ahead, for some people it might be 2, but 5 just usually feels really good for me. And I did this from a couple of years ago, where I had this clear vision of what I wanted my life and my business to look like. And I wrote it as though I was in that moment. So I wrote essentially a day in the life 5 years ahead. And I know exactly what it is and how that script looks, because it's something that I read all the time. And so this diary entry essentially was me talking about how I feel in every moment of the day. And it started with, it's actually manifested before my eyes in so many ways, because it starts with waking up in the morning and going for an ocean swim, and like sitting and being with Che, and he's come back from sea, and all of these amazing things which have all unfolded in my life and in our lives. But it was from that exercise of getting so much clarity and so much deep intentionality around what I wanted things to look like, that was able to manifest. So creating a ritual every day, and then having some sort of diary or some sort of script of, this is how I really want to feel. And the best way to be in that, because our brain does not know the difference between what we imagine, what we believe, what we project, and what our reality actually is. The best way to do that is to then embody those feelings. So what can you do that makes you feel like that? What can you do now that makes you feel abundant? What can you do now that makes you feel free? What can you do now that makes you feel like you're already a successful business owner? So for me, ocean swim is just like number one. I think that's the second time I've said that today, but it always just comes up so high on my list as something that just puts me in that energy. Gosh, what are some things that I like to do to feel abundant? I really love like taking myself out for lunch. I love taking myself to a cafe and reading a book, or allowing myself, an hour in my day to do something unplanned just for me, or really putting myself in the energy of this is how I want to feel forevermore, and knowing that that's just going to continue to grow and morph and shift and change. So ritual and creating that essentially Dear Diary type of script about what you want your life to look like. Then once you've done that, you want to break it down. So essentially, this is where we start talking about goal setting. And I always like to do things in 90-day increments. The reason that has always personally been something that has worked for me and that I also recommend is it's based on research, first of all. So Harvard University has done significant research to show that the 90-day window is the best period of time to create and achieve any sort of goal that we set ourselves. And I'm not especially sure why that is, but essentially, it's a great 3-month period. It's also really great from a business context. If you're implementing any kind of new strategy, marketing strategy, business strategy, whatever it might be, it's a really great time to test something and to be able to see if that thing works for you or doesn't work. So many reasons why people aren't necessarily able to succeed in those early years of business is because there's no intentionality and then no sticking to a 90-day strategy. So it's really, really important to then take what those feelings look like and take what that vision essentially is, and to be able to break it down and go, well, what does this look like for me for the next 90 days? How can I bring this into my life? So I like to get super clear on what that looks like. I don't actually personally ever, it's hard for me to say this being someone who's a trained life coach, but I don't necessarily write specific goals. I more see how I want to feel over that 90 days and what I know I want to do in my business. So it's both about how I want to feel and what I want to do. So essentially, I guess that is a goal, but when I break it down, on my 90-day plan, it's always about how do I want to feel over the next 90 days and what do I want to move forward over the next 90 days, because it's that beautiful blend of both, and I make sure that that's woven through into everything. So then the final thing when it comes to being super, super intentional is to be like Elsa and let it go. And all the mamas are going to know my Frozen reference here, but probably all the non-mamas will also know this reference. Be like Elsa from Frozen and let it go. So intentionality is just like manifestation. You cannot hold on to it with this super tight grip, or it just will not manifest for you. If we are dreaming and visioning a certain intention, or we're looking forward to something that we want to happen so specifically in our exact way, then it's going to be really challenging for the magic to actually take hold. Because we as humans, in our human suit, we don't always know what is best for us. We don't always know the magic that is going to unfold. And if we're gripped so tight to something, often that is when we can lose our way. I'm going to give you an example of this. This has actually happened quite a few times, but I had a client recently who had a launch, and this particular launch, her goal was to do $15,000. Now, super high achiever, incredible human, just was devoted to meeting that goal. Her launch ended up being $12,000. However, she also had what I call the halo effect occur around a launch, which is that she had all these people reach out to her during that launch who also wanted to work with her one-to-one, which she had the capacity for. So she also made another $10,000 through that one-to-one work. So therefore, the money that she earned during that launch was $22,000. So it was 12,000 plus the 10,000. It was a $22,000 launch. However, if she hadn't viewed it as a $22,000 launch, looking at that halo effect, if she hadn't allowed that to manifest, then she would have only seen that it was a $12,000 launch and felt like it had fallen short, when in actuality, she was simply supposed to have that extra space to be able to have those one-to-one clients, and that was how it manifested in her business. And in doing so, she was actually able to have a better outcome. So that's a really great example of having that intentionality, but then being able to let it go, to recognize that often we don't know how much of the magic we're going to see or how much of the magic is going to manifest. And that's totally okay. So I'm going to do a little summary right now of what intentionality looks like. I'm just going to kind of top line through some of the things that I've shared just now. If you have any questions about anything that I've just talked about, then please pop them below. I would absolutely love to answer them for you. Loving seeing you all come on. Hey, Chrissy. Hey, Annette. Hey, Cass. Hey, Megan. So good to have you here. Yeah, any questions, please pop them below and I can answer them for you. So just to go back through what I was sharing before, overall, intention is the antidote to indecision. If you are feeling like you're in a funk or you're in this period right now where you don't know what is next for you or for your business or for your life or for anything, then really allow yourself to come back to, well, if I was intentional, what would this look like? What does intentionality mean to me right now? And in doing so, you will be able to generate clarity to be able to move forward in your life and business in a really beautiful way. So ways that you can be really intentional, the process that I use is to create a really powerful, incredible ritual each and every day that allows you to get into that really intentional state. Create some sort of Dear Diary script that you can use to put you into the energy of how you truly want to feel each and every day, and then come from that place and tap into those feelings so that you can be in that energy. Break it down and determine what your 90-day game plan looks like. For me, that's working out how I then want to feel over the next 90 days and what action I want to take over that next 90 days. Then the last tip is to be like Elsa and let it go so that you can allow the magic to happen. So, and just to really clarify on this one, letting it go does not mean sitting back or not taking action. And I know I don't need to share this because you're all high-performing action takers, but that's not what we're talking about here. Letting it go is doing the work, showing up, but also deeply trusting that there is a plan greater than you and that all your wildest dreams are going to unfold. And you don't always know the how or the journey of what that is going to look like. So I teased a little bit before that I am currently creating a really incredible course that I am just absolutely obsessed with. I'm just going to share the link below if you are not currently on the wait list for it. This course is going to be so incredible. It's the first time that I've done a massive collaboration in my business, one that's bigger than just doing an event with somebody else. And it's with one of my dearest friends and someone who is one of the best coaches and business owners that I know. So essentially, if you're ever going to collaborate with someone that you respect and trust and think is just freaking amazing. Pro tip, that is exactly what I'm doing. Rachel McDonald and I are putting together an incredible course for coaches. It is essentially an amazing framework that will support you as you build your coaching business. And we use that word coaching loosely because all of the principles that apply within this framework are also principles that apply to you if you are a service-based online business owner. So if you're not already, jump on over to that wait list. We currently have 5 days of festivities, email challenge happening over there, which is just so fun and the best. And in addition to that, if you're all interested in the course, that is the list you want to be on to get $200 off full price when it launches. So please make sure that you are over on that list. Doesn't look like there are any questions. Hey, Carmen, letting it go is hard, but it is. It is so crucial to intention, to manifestation, to basically calling in anything you want in your life. Being able to let it go is in some ways the most important step of all of it. It just means not gripping on so tightly, but just having, I find that the thing that allows me to let go most is being in the energy of trust, and whatever that looks like for you. So for me, I have a deep trust that I don't have all the answers, and that there is something greater than me out there that is helping on this journey. I trust that by doing good in the world, there is that is going to come back to me in beautiful ways. It's really about being able to lean into what that looks like for you, essentially. So yeah, thank you all for being here. If there's any questions as you're watching the replay, let me know. Don't hesitate to ask anything, and I can come back in here and answer that. I'll be back in here beforehand to wish you all an incredible Christmas and New Year. But we are getting closer, so I hope you're having an amazing festive season. Please don't disconnect from your businesses. Tune in, don't tune out, and stay really intentional. Mwah! I love you all. Have an amazing day.